Joining us now to take a closer look at this is Maryscott Greenwood. She's the CEO of the Canadian American Business Council. Maryscott, thank you for joining us. Putting aside the nonsense about a trade deficit with Canada, it's actually pretty hearty trade on both sides. These are valuable trade relationships that go back decades between these two countries. What's the danger of this escalating?
Well, Ali, you're right. This is generations and generations of families and businesses working together across the border. And the danger is it's not just an economic relationship that we have. We have a joint defense and security relationship. We share the same air and water. We have so security arrangements, environmental arrangements. We also have this border that we share together. So the danger here is if you allow the economic relationship, which, by the way, as you know, is the most successful, prosperous relationship in the history of the world. If you allow that to deteriorate, that's bad. That's really bad economically, but it also has ramifications for all of these other, large issues that we share with Canada.
And part of it is that two things happen that are not about this trade in goods and services. One is the security, the national security relationship we have, this long border, the cooperation we've got with NATO and NORAD and non-military things like, immigration. But the second one is the energy trade, right? America trades a lot of energy, actually is a net buyer of energy from Canada. So there are implications about this that are not as simple as tariffs and trade barriers.
Well, that's exactly right, Ali. I mean, we have evolved over the recent generations to have almost everything integrated. Our electricity grids are completely interlocked. So if there is a blackout or an interruption in service here, it's backstopped by Canada and vice versa. They send down their clean, green, renewable hydro. We send up wind power. So it goes back and forth, and it has, for as long as anybody can remember. And the challenge is the President of the United States doesn't seem to have a problem with just upending all of that, with creating chaos. And it would be okay if it was just rhetoric, if he's just talking tough, but now it's real. And this is becoming a problem.
Part of what made it real is that the Canadians, and I don't know, maybe people just think we Canadians are nice folks and we're going to take this lying down, but Justin Trudeau couldn't. And he's obviously under pressure from a lot of Canadian businesses that need America to talk tough. But this is hard for Canada. It's probably hard for a lot of Americans who do business for Canada, because in the end, businesses, small businesses, workers get hurt by this.
Well, that's exactly right, Ali. And the Canadian response, which you can understand their frustration with the president using a national security argument to try to get a trade advantage, that in and of itself is very frustrating. Inappropriate use of the statute, but they responded, and they responded with tariffs. You mentioned them in the run-up to this, with tariffs that were strategically targeted to American goods. But it doesn't just hurt the Americans; it does. It also hurts Canadians. It's a $12 billion cost of living increase, if you will, on Canadians. So there's a lot of pain on both sides of the border, and unfortunately, at the moment, no end in sight.
There's a bit of a movement in Canada about not buying American goods in sort of a protest. I'm not sure these things ever work, because ultimately it's the same as in America. People want to buy made in America, but they tend to buy the less expensive product. But in the end, is there any potential long-term damage to this relationship, or is the relationship between Canada and the United States good enough that it'll bounce back, that a lot of people write this off to being Donald Trumpism and not really about the relationship between these two countries?
Well, we'll have to see, Ali. I mean, the relationship is quite resilient, and at the fundamental core, I think our countries and our people really love each other, and we spend a lot of time together. But this is serious. This is more than just a blip at this point. It's you talk to many Canadians. I talked to the Canadian ambassador to the United States this morning. Canadians are deeply offended at the way the president is treating them. So I do worry about long term. Can you recover? Of course you can, but it'll take a lot of work, and there's a lot of damage being done. But meanwhile, we need to figure out how to deal with these tariffs. It's
unnecessary damage. All right, Maryscott, thanks very much. Maryscott Greenwood is the CEO of the Canadian American Business Council.